Hello again, everybody. So this week what I'm going to be talking about is something very personal, but I think that there's a benefit to getting this kind of video out early rather than later, and I'm hoping that it will help you understand me as a person, as a creator. This week I will be talking about the fact that I have PTSD. I think the most interesting way to talk about this is going to be to answer some frequently asked questions about PTSD. And by that I mean not questions that people frequently ask in general about the disease, but questions people ask me a lot about PTSD when I tell them that I have it. So, let's get right into it then. What branch of the military did you serve in? None. You don't actually need to have been in wartime or combat to develop PTSD. There's a reason it's not called post-war disorder. Just about anything can be a traumatic experience, and that's going to vary person to person. Some people can experience something that was really traumatic for them, and someone else may not be affected in the same way, and vice versa. What qualifies as traumatic is going to vary person to person, experience to experience. It could be anything, really. This is part of the fundamental human experience. This is just the way that some people are going to handle trauma. What happened to you? I'm a pretty open book myself, but trauma is a very deeply personal experience for those who have been through it. Be very sensitive and cautious. Don't ask someone about a traumatic experience in their life unless it's been established that they're willing to talk to you about it. Boundaries, people. Personal space applies not just to physical space, but to emotional space. To actually answer the question, I suffered years of physical and psychological abuse at the hands of my parents. What are your triggers? Okay, this is a question that I'm actually somewhat okay being asked. If you're going to be spending time with this person a lot, there's absolutely right and wrong ways to ask this question. Just be clear that you're trying to avoid those triggers for their well-being, and not as preparation for a prank or to try to talk them out of being bothered by them or pushing their limits or something like that. You would be surprised how often if you told someone, oh, the smell of broccoli sends me into a panic attack, they will deliberately bring you broccoli or try to be like, why? Why does that happen? And it's just all these follow-up questions. And the truth of the matter is that this question should only be asked if you're going to help that person as their therapist and work through those problems, or if you're trying to avoid setting the person off and upsetting them and putting them in a place that's not healthy for them. If you're their friend, that should always be your goal. Are you on medication? Okay, just don't. As a rule, never ask someone if they're on medication to treat something. Like, ever. Unless you're their doctor. The way in which a medical professional decides is most effective to treat someone is entirely between the patient and the doctor. That's it. You don't actually have any right to ask them about that, because the problem here is that there's, again, all of these follow-up questions like, oh, did you try Xanax? Did you try this or that? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try smoking pot? That's not your business. You're not a doctor. It's incredibly invasive, very personal and rude. It's just not a good idea. In my case, the triggers that I have are specific enough that they don't usually impact my normal routine. I may have a bad day with anxiety on occasion, but it's just under the threshold where medication would be both necessary and beneficial to me. Believe me, if there was a medication that I could take that would make all of this go away, eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, anyone? I would gladly do that. But again, really, this just comes down to it being a personal thing. This is a personal question you're asking of someone. You really should be in their confidence if you're going to confront them about this, because that's ultimately what it is. This is a confrontation at this point. You've turned it from a curiosity into something where you're making them justify themselves to you. Why are all you millennials all f***ed up? I guess in my case, your generation? In recent years, mental health has become a major focus of research and, frankly, public discourse. People are talking about this. It's not that millennials are more messed up than other generations, it's that we're actually in a position to acknowledge it because the research has been done. We have access to it thanks to the internet. We're actually in a position to deal with it better than other generations have been. I don't see any reason personally to actually hide this fact. I don't want to hide this fact. It wasn't my fault that it happened, and it's part of who I am, for better or worse. Gonna go with worse on that one. And that's what I have to live with, and I can either hide it until it explodes out of me and people go, "What's with the weird guy shaking in the corner?" Or I can be open about it such that my friends know, hey, sometimes I'm gonna have to go shake in the corner for a few minutes. Don't worry, I'm not dying, it'll be okay. That's just a fundamental part of who I am. I can't help it. I don't want to be sitting in the corner shaking either. I know this is awkward. Just because there's no visible signs doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm not always off in the corner shaking. That's not my normal thing. Sometimes even I'm not aware that this is what's happening to me. I don't understand why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. I just feel mad or upset or threatened, and I don't know why. And anything I can do to get help with that from my friends, from my coworkers, yeah, I'm gonna communicate that to them ahead of time. Ugh, why is every YouTuber mentally ill? Okay, I don't know. I'm only here to talk about my issues. There are some theories that this kind of platform lends itself to people with similar personality traits. And there may be something to that. But for me personally, I'm just trying to be honest both with myself and my audience about the context in which I live my life every day. Again, this is a part of me, and I can either deny that or I can talk about it. I personally wish that when I was dealing with all of these things as they were happening, if I had access to someone who could talk to me about what's happening to me, I would have been so thankful for that. So I guess I'm trying to be a resource to those people in as much of a capacity as I can in this weirdly detached setting. Ugh, why can't you just get over it? It was like so long ago. That is literally the disorder. You just described the disorder. That's what makes it a mental illness, is the fact that you cannot get over it. It doesn't leave you. By definition, you can't let it go. In my case, this is more an issue of training. Everyone learns to thrive as much as they can in whatever environment they find themselves placed in. In my case, I was placed in a highly toxic and abusive environment. So the problem is that I'm trained from basically birth to deal with that kind of conflict. I expect it at all times. When I don't have it, in fact, it's unsettling to me because I'm waiting for it to show up. And something that you develop as a survival technique is not something that you can just immediately turn off. You can't just tell your brain, oh, well, thanks for developing that entire coping mechanism that I needed at the time to survive that crazy situation. You can just let that go. Your brain is not going to let go of something that it thinks you need to survive. That's just not its job. It doesn't let go of something that it thinks you need. And trying to convince yourself, oh, well, I don't actually need that, is only going to take you so far. So my mind thinks that it's doing its best to keep me safe. The problem is that the conflict that it's prepared for and at times perceives no longer exists. So it is constantly worried that this thing that happened to me before is going to happen to me again, and if I let go of that coping skill, it's going to hurt me in a way that I'm not prepared for. It's sort of like telling someone, hey, you don't actually need to walk. You don't need to do that. Now go over there and get me something. The only way I know how to do that is to walk. I don't know how to not walk to do that. And telling someone to forget how to walk, you can't do it. It's wired into you. It's programmed into you. You spent years developing the skill of learning how to walk. Oh, you seem fine. Yeah, that's because I've worked really, really hard to get to this point where I'm able to function normally in society. The whole purpose of treating a mental disorder is such that that person will become able to function in society. But the underlying disorder is usually still present. Therapy, at least the CBT that I've done, is designed to retrain your brain so that it doesn't follow the path that it would normally take with those aforementioned skills that I no longer need. Oh, your parents love you in their own way. One day, you'll see it. You just don't understand. No, you don't understand. What part of the time my mother grabbed me by my genitals and attempted to throw me down the stairs onto concrete did I not understand as her trying to express her love for me? What part of the follow-up where she told our entire family that I tried to throw her down the stairs did I not understand? Where was the love when she was punching me? Where was my father's love when he acted as the enforcer and took turns with my mother beating me? What but a parent's love could inspire them to stop feeding you at 12 years of age? Was it all bad? No. They paid for me to go to school. They kept a roof over my head, gave me a car. But they did all of these other things too. I'm choosing to treat my disorder, to break the cycle of abuse, so I don't beat my kids like my grandparents did. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to exist, much less to be abused, and even less than that, to be unable to function normally as a result. But here I am. I'm in control of my future. I decide what to make of those experiences and how I choose to live with them. They'll never take that from me. For better or worse, it made me who I am today. So I think that's it. PTSD is a complicated disorder. It bleeds out into other related disorders, anxiety, paranoia, things of that nature. And everyone's experience with it is a little different. I'm hoping that this video may help you to be a little sensitive when you may encounter someone who has this disorder. Or if you have been through experiences like mine or other traumatic experiences, I hope that this might encourage you to actually go get treatment for it. It is important, and this stuff will sneak up on you. It snuck up on me. I first really became symptomatic after getting out of the traumatic situation, which felt so counterintuitive to me. It's like, oh, you're safe for the first time in your life and you don't actually have to worry about all these things that you've been worried about for a long time? You know, what would help you right now is a panic attack in the middle of Manhattan. Let's do that. That sounds fun. Thank you for stopping by. I hope that this was interesting for you, and I hope to have you guys see me again next week, so hopefully you'll see me then. Bye. See, I'm a lot.